Well, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Teresa and I'm one of the pastors here. It's just a wonderful morning, isn't it? You know, my whole childhood I spent telling my parents that church was boring, and then I landed myself here. We're about anything but boring here, aren't we? Well, if you missed last week, or if this is your first week, this is week 2 of a series called The Story. And this portion of the story is called Hope in the Darkness. Now, what we're doing is we're working our way through this. This is actually several weeks that we're going to be working on this. But what the story is it works you through the Bible chronologically. Because we know that this thing is not written in chronological order, right? So it walks you through each and every story. And last week, David started off with creation, and we talked about Noah a little bit. We started in Genesis, and now we're moving on this week. And you'll notice I have some new props up here this week. We have the upper story, the lower story, and my story. And what the upper story is, and you'll see us jump up here when we're telling the upper story, is the upper story is the story from the perspective of God. Because all throughout history, God had an overarching theme going on. He had something he was up to, and that's the upper story. The lower story is what's actually going on, the events that we read about, the historical facts that we read in here. That's your lower story. And then my story, or your story, is how we fit into this. Because what the beautiful thing about the upper and lower story is that you fit into this plan somehow. So we're going to work through how we fit into that. So I'm going to work through, and you saw in the video that we're going to start talking about Abram and Sarai this morning. And you know, I got to tell you, God's funny because I don't think he really often picks the rock stars, if you've noticed. God's not a rock star picker. You would think he'd go find the biggest, baddest rock star he could, and that would be the one that would deliver his word, right? And see, we're always so concerned with being rock stars, but I'm telling you, God seems to pick the most weak and lowliest of them all, doesn't he? I mean, he picks people like David. Who is David? He's just a little shepherd boy out in the field somewhere, you know? Jesus was just a carpenter. Man, his mom wasn't even married when she got pregnant. I mean, this is who God historically picks. And you know, we look at ourselves, and I look at my own faults and think, oh, I'm just not capable of anything. But hey, the more faulted, it seems like that's who God was always attracted to. And so was the story with Abram and Sarai. And see, God chose to build a nation through them, and they were an impossible choice. First of all, we start off with Abram, whose wife, Sarai, is barren. And back in that time, one of the most important things you had to do was to reproduce. That's what you did. And if you didn't, you were looked down upon, quite drastically looked down upon. And Sarai couldn't have children. Well, what made it worse is that Abram's name actually means exalted father. His name means father. And they told in the story about Esau. You know why Esau was named Esau? Because he was hairy, and Esau means hairy. So they would literally name people for what their characteristics should be. And here's this man who is supposed to be the exalted father, and he's married to a barren wife. And you know, you'd think that God would even just pick some people with good character. Maybe the circumstances aren't in their favor, but maybe he would pick somebody with good character, but that was not the case with Abram and Sarai. Was not. I'll tell you what, Abram was a liar. When he went into Egypt with his wife, he said, hey, you know what, you're really kind of too pretty, so what we're going to do is we're going to tell him you're my sister, okay? So we're going to tell him you're my sister because I don't want him to know you're my wife. And then what happens is Pharaoh finds out that he's lying to him, and he kicks him out of Egypt. I mean, Abraham got kicked out of Egypt. And you think the guy would learn his lesson. But no, he walks down the road a little further, gets into another country, does it again, gets kicked out of there. You know, he can't learn. He can't learn. And you know, Sarai was no different. The story really wasn't much different for her. See, God had promised Abram and Sarai that they would be the father of nations. That's what they promised, that they would have children as numerous as the stars in the sky. This is a promise. Like, God gives you a promise. Imagine God speaking to you and saying, this is what I'm going to do. So when Abram and Sarah are like, all right, cool, let's wait. If God spoke to you, you're going to wait for him to move, right? So we're waiting and waiting. And let's wait for him, because he's coming. Listen, we're still waiting for him. He's coming. Okay, I'm 80. I'm waiting for him. He's coming. He's got to be coming. I'm 90's creeping up on me here. Where is he? And Sarai, being the typical woman, she gets impatient in the process. She says, you know what? It's taking too long here, Abram. We've got issues. I don't know what God's doing, but he's taking too long. Let's fix this. I got an idea. So they call in their servant, Hagar. And she says, I'm going to have you lay with Hagar, and you're going to have a baby with her. Because I can't have babies, and we got to get moving on this nation thing. We got to get moving on this plan. So what happens is he does, and he has a baby with Hagar. And it's so interesting because, God then later talks to Abram and he says, okay, that wasn't really the plan I had in place. But because he is your son, and I said I was going to bless you, and, because he's your son, I will bless him. But see, I still have another plan in place. I still have another son I'm going to bring you. And that's fine. You can go ahead and have Ishmael and have your son outside my will. But now Ishmael and your son Isaac will forever be at war. That story gets super duper interesting if you figure out that Ishmael actually traces back to the Quran. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So they wait, and it's not even a few years. It's like 13 years later, after Ishmael's born, still. And God talks to Abram and Sarah, and he says, you know what? I'm going to change your names. I'm going to change Abram, which meant exalted father, to Abraham, which means father of the multitudes. And I'm going to change Sarai's name from princess. That's what Sarai means, is princess. I'm going to change it to queen, Sarah. Because you're going to be the queen of this nation that I'm going to build. So finally, and when God's telling him this, he says, I'm still going to do this plan. You're going to have a son, and you're going to name him Isaac. Well, in the meantime, Sarah's over in her tent. She's listening out the tent door. You know how we do. We're kind of wondering, what's God telling Abraham out there? So she's listening, and when she hears that she's still going to have a child, she starts laughing. She's like, yeah, right, come on. Like, really? I'm like 80-some years old. I'm not still having a baby. She starts cracking up in the tent over there. And God says, Sarah, why are you laughing? Her and all of her character, you know what she does? She lies to God. I just had something in the throat. I wasn't laughing, God. I wasn't laughing at you. She lies to him and says, I wasn't laughing. But she was, because she was so ridiculous. But lo and behold, they have this baby. And you think, all right, now we're on the road. Now we've got this nation going. We're ready to rock and roll. But God comes back when Isaac's just a teenager. He's a little days, talking back teenager, I'm sure. And God says, Abraham, I want you to sacrifice your son. And for whatever reason, this man, despite the character that isn't stellar, despite his flaws, he obeys. And he marches Isaac up. And Isaac, being the teenager, he's like, hey, Dad, where's the sacrifice? Like, are we going to sacrifice? We gotta go. Where is it at? I mean, I'm sure Abram's prepared with all of the other things he would do to sacrifice, right? But maybe we've got no go. Isaac's got to kind of be like, what's going on here? And he follows through with it, and he puts it up as a sacrifice, and he's actually going to go through with the plan. But God stops him. Stops him and says, no. There's a ram over there in the weeds. Go grab the ram. And why did he do that? Did God need a dead body? Did God need Isaac to give to give his son back? See, God didn't need that. What he was looking for is Abraham's heart. That's what he was looking for. Boy, did he pass the test, didn't he? Gosh, did he ever pass that test? I don't know that I could pass that test. He passed that test. And see, that's the lower story. And see, time and time again, if you read through Scripture, you're going to find that there's a common theme throughout all of Scripture. See, from the beginning of time, the time Adam and Eve were walking this earth, God's been chasing us. He's been chasing us, running after us, just like he was running after Abraham's heart. He didn't need Isaac. He didn't need that son. He needed his heart. Because what he had done is he had created us to fellowship with him. That was his purpose in creating Adam and Eve, is to fellowship with him. And how do we know that? Because we know that because no matter how loner types we are or how much we're not really social people, in each and every single one of us, deep down inside, there is this need to be connected, is there not? There's this need need to have a connection. And some of us build lots of connections. Those are the kind of people we are. And other of us, we stick to just very small connections, but we like those deep connections, right? So we have this need to be connected. And how do I know that that was God's plan and from the beginning? Is because we were created in His image. That is part of His image, is He wanted to walk with us. And He created this beautiful Garden of Eden. And He wanted us to be in there with Him and fellowship with Him. That's how we were supposed to be. But we all know something happened, right? Eve went over and she just had to know about this good and evil thing that was going on. She had to know, and she took a bite of that apple, and she got the knowledge, and then she handed it off to Adam, and then Adam like totally threw the girl under the bus and like, hey God, this woman you gave me, she made me eat the apple. This is why we know about sin now. This is what happened. See, in Genesis it says what happened to them right after this is they ate the apple and then they did something. What did they do? In Genesis 3 it says, then they heard the Lord walking through the garden during the cool part of the day. And the man and his wife hid from the Lord among the trees in the garden. But the Lord called out to man and said, where are you? That separation had begun. That shame had come in. They couldn't be in fellowship with Him anymore because they had this knowledge that they weren't supposed to have. See, when God created the earth, He had this plan. People are constantly asking, why is it that God hasn't tried to take sin out of this world? Well, I'll tell you what, He never created it to have it. He created it without it, where they would have never had the knowledge of it. It could have lived that way, but that didn't happen. They had to get the knowledge. So then God had to formulate a plan B, right? Now we need a plan B. So what He says is, okay, you guys have the knowledge of good and evil now. Nothing I can do about that, but I've got a plan. And what happens is the earth gets wicked. Everybody's mostly wicked besides one man. And this Noah guy seems to be the only good soul left. So God says, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to bless him. We're going to make this ark, and we're going to wipe this out. Listen to this in Genesis. It says, the Lord saw that human beings on the earth were wicked, and that everything they thought about was evil. He was sorry He made human beings on earth, and His heart filled with pain. So the Lord said, I will destroy all human beings I made on earth. And I will destroy every animal and every living thing that crawls on the earth and the birds in the air, because I am sorry I have made them. But the Lord was pleased with Noah. So He's got this plan. Here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of the sin. We're going to wipe out this world. We're going to create Noah. He can repopulate it. It's going to be great, right? Yeah, but that didn't work. Because what happened was, the sin got on the boat with Noah. See, that became part of us with that very first sin. That became part of us. And no matter how much God tried to wipe that out, that sin still lived in Noah. And He didn't get rid of it. And so He said, all right, we got to move on to the next plan. And plan C is what I'm talking about today. This is Abraham and Sarah. I'm going to build a nation. Because the sin still exists, I couldn't get rid of it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use them to build this nation. And I am going to reveal my heart through this nation. So people, you guys are going to see. You're going to see, oh, this is what God blesses. This is what God curses. Obviously, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go with this nation because I can see God's heart through it. If you listen in Genesis, it says, the Lord said to Abram, leave your country, your relatives, your father's family, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you. I will put a curse on those who harm you. And all the people on the earth will be blessed through you. So He hatches like this fourfold plan. This great plan He's got in place. And that's in your bulletins this morning. Let's take a look. It's a little difficult to see up here, but here's this plan. God's going to make a new nation great, right? That's the first part of what that scripture is telling us. God's going to make this new nation great. Then what He's going to do is He's going to make Abraham's name great. Because remember, he's the father of the multitudes. Like, this guy's got to start living up to his potential. So He's going to make Abraham's name great. And then He says, God will bless all those who bless Abraham and curse all those who curse him. Like I said, we can see, look at this. This is blessing. This is curse. So it becomes very obvious to us. And the fourth part of the plan is that God will bless all nations through Abraham and his nation. God will use this nation to reveal his heart. Good plan. Not bad, right? But we already know it didn't work. Because there's plan D. You might have heard of him. His name's Jesus. Right? We know there's a plan D. And that's the plan we're living under now because it didn't work. People saw and didn't choose, so then he said, you're going to have to live with this sin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you my son. I'm going to send my son to you and I'm going to sacrifice him so that it's okay that you live with this sin. You can still be with me. You can still fellowship with me. I still want you back. And that's the plan we're living under now, but we know that even this plan isn't going to work. Not completely. Because there's still another plan in place, isn't there? There's still a plan E coming. And that's when God comes back and reestablishes his kingdom here, right? Because see, some are still going to be left behind in this Jesus plan. Some are still going to turn their face and turn their back on Jesus. That's still going to happen. But when that kingdom reigns here, when that kingdom's here, that will fix that. So we know, although that we're living under plan D right now, we know there's still another one. We live under plan D with the hope of plan E, don't we? That's what we're doing now. And that'll be the final plan that will work. Throughout all of Scripture, there's a common thread. God was chasing us. He's been chasing us in each and every plan. He was chasing us. He wanted Adam and Eve to trust him. Trust me, Adam and Eve. You don't want the knowledge of good and evil. Just trust me and live with me. But they didn't trust him, did they? And he said the same thing to Noah. Noah, I want you to trust me and I want you to abandon sin. Just walk away from sin and trust me. But Noah didn't trust him either, did he? And then he wants us to trust Jesus. He wants us. He wanted Abraham to trust him with his heart. Give me your heart. He wants us to trust Jesus. You see, each and every time we run through these stories, there's this common theme. He is chasing us. He is chasing our hearts. He wants us to trust him. He wants us to have faith in him. Faith in him. Now, those of you who know me, when I get around words that I have to know the meaning of just a little bit deeper, I start my Google search, right? And I Googled this because, what does it mean, faith? Because all I know is everybody's always telling me I gotta have it, right? You gotta have faith. You need more faith. You don't have enough faith. You need to be faithful. You need to have faith, right? Everybody's telling me to, so what is this faith that I need? So I Googled it, and this is what it says in the all-knowing Wikipedia. Faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. All right, that's pretty simple. And I don't know that even gave me the answer. So what I did is I went to the Faith Hall of Fame. Do you know your Bible has one of those? Yeah. Yeah, we've got a Faith Hall of Fame in here. It's in the book of Hebrews, which is way back of your Bible. If you go to the book of Hebrews and you go to chapter 11, it has great examples of faith. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. I have to understand how I need this faith. And the first verse says, faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. It gives us assurance about things we cannot see. And if you move down to the third verse, it says, by faith, we understand that the entire universe was formed at God's command. That what we now see did not come from anything that can be seen. And then what they start doing is they run through all of these different examples. That by faith, Abel brought a more sufficient offering than Cain. By faith that happened. By faith, Enoch went to heaven without dying. Check that out. By faith he did that. By faith, Noah went and built this big boat. People had to think that guy was crazy. That's by faith that happened. By faith, Abraham left his homeland. Have you left your homeland? I left my homeland. But the thing is Abraham didn't know where he was going. God just sent him. He said, hey, pack up your stuff and take off. I'm going to tell you where to go when you get there. Now, I left my homeland, and I knew I was coming to Florida, and I'll tell you what, I was shaking in my britches the whole time. I was scared to death. Imagine not even knowing where you're going. No idea. By faith, Sarah had a child. By faith, Abraham offered Isaac up. And God's saved him. And see, it keeps going through this book and through history now, this faith. So how is guys like those Hall of Famers. We need to get some faith like them. This past week, my daughter, she's 17. Sorry, babe. She just got her license not too long ago. And we know when you get your license, you learn it. So on her way home from work, she had a little accident. It wasn't a big one, it was a little one, thank God. It was a little accident. She bent up some stuff, we went out and got her and brought her home. And the next morning, you know, the car wasn't in that bad a shape. Like, it could be driven still, and, you know, it just needed some stuff. My husband had kind of fixed it up a little bit to make it right, but it could have been driven. But really, without very little argument or very little question, she just kind of hopped in the car with me, and we all headed off to school together. Very little question. She didn't say much. And then the next day, I said, so are you driving your car in today? Because my husband had fixed it all up nice for me. He's a genius when it comes to that. It's great. So he fixed it all up, and I said, are you taking your car? Well, I can drive with you. She kind of answered me. And I said, no, honey. You got to get back in that car and drive to school. Because see, here's what we do each and every day. We get in our cars and we have faith that we are going to get where we are going safely, don't we? Each and every day we get in there and we have faith that we are going to get there safely. But what happens is just once in a while that faith gets shaked a little bit, doesn't it? Kind of gets stirred. Something happens like that that makes you question your faith. I mean, you start questioning, am I going to get there safely? Something you never questioned before. My sister, my little sister, when we were in our 20s, was in a very major accident. Very major. She was hit head on. So broken legs, the whole 9 yards, airbags went off. It was very traumatic. And I remember for months after that accident, I was driving her everywhere. It took her months to get back in a car. Because something happens to you, doesn't it? Something happens. And you just don't trust like you used to trust. But we know, and we can tell people who are sitting in that situation right now, you've got to get back in that car. You can't live scared. You've got to get back in. You've got to drive again. Things happen. It's okay. Get back in and drive. See, it's so simple for us to tell people to have faith in their cars and faith they're going to make it to work tomorrow morning, but it's so hard for us to understand how to have faith in God. Amen. It's so difficult for us to understand that. So I got thinking, how would I understand that better? Well, why don't we go and take an opposite? Why don't we just take the whole opposite view on this? We'll flip the whole script around. What is it like to live without faith completely? Those definitions that we talked about. Complete trust or confidence in someone or something. So no trust, no confidence in anybody or anything. Let's look at it from that way. Or even Hebrews definition. Believing what we hope for will happen. See, we would not believe that anything we hope for would ever happen, and we'd only believe in what we see, right? That would be the opposite. So let's think about what our lives would mean if that would happen. First of all, I'm going to tell you, I probably would be not slept from last night. Because I could not possibly have faith that that alarm clock is going to go off and wake me up. Right? So I probably would have stayed up all night making sure that I got awake, because let's face it, I get here at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. That is not normal people time. I'm telling you, it's very difficult to get up that early and get somewhere for me. That is not normal people time. So I probably wouldn't have slept. And here's the thing, is that when I woke up and got out of bed, I probably would have been worried about my shower, because I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of going anywhere without a shower. I like showers. I'm all greasy and I'm a mess in the morning. I need to take a shower before I go somewhere. But see, I don't have any faith. I don't know that I'm going to even have hot water. I can't trust that my hot water is going to work. My hot water heater is going to heat the water, bring the water through the pipes, and give me a hot shower the next morning. I can't even trust that. What if it doesn't? It may not. And I probably would have worried about getting here safely. I mean, there's 6 miles between this church and my house. I mean, how many things could happen? I don't know that I'm going to make it here safely. And the thing is I don't know that I'd stand up here and speak, because how do I know that God's going to come through and give me the words to speak to you? How do I know you guys are even going to show up? Maybe I'm going to be here talking to nobody this morning. Maybe nobody will come. No faith. See, I've got to put trust in some things, don't I? I got to trust that at least a couple of you are going to get up and come hear me speak this morning, right? I got to trust that. See, this is a decision we make to trust with our mind, with our body, with our spirit. Our mind has to decide that we are going to trust. We understand that. That's the thinking, the logical part of us. Our physical bodies have to trust, right? We have to trust our physical world around us. That's what makes this happen, is that I can sit in this chair without worrying. Because I know, for whatever reason, this chair is going to hold me up. I have to trust the physical world around me, right? And see, here's the kicker. So you got to trust God in your spirit. You've got to trust that there is a spiritual world in operation here, that He is leading you through, and that you are going somewhere. You've got to put some trust in that. Since Easter Sunday, David's been talking each and every week. He's been talking up here about the overwhelming evidence. The overwhelming evidence that this stuff is true. He's been spending weeks on it, and I'll tell you what, we can go on forever because there is literally overwhelming evidence. We are not crazy people believing in some fictional character. There is overwhelming evidence of the fact that this stuff is true. And I was telling them we were having prayer this morning before the services, and I told them, I said, it's almost to the point where somebody says they don't believe in my God, and I have to turn around and say to them, then you're not educating yourself. Because the facts are there. You have not taken the time to study this, to research it, to rip things apart and look, because that's what I did with the story with Abraham, is rip this stuff apart to look. And I'll tell you what I found, is I found some crazy stuff. I got to a point in my faith where there was a fork in the road. I had walked with God long enough that I had to make a decision. And my decision was either I am going to believe that I live this life of this crazy amount of coincidences. Things that fit together, they sound right together, they go together. It's just coincidence after coincidence and irony after irony. I'm either going to believe that that's what's happening in my life, or I'm going to believe that there is some supreme being weaving all of this together for some beautiful masterpiece that I have yet to see. I had to make that choice. It was one or the other had to be true. And what I found is that the truth lies here, with that supreme being and this wonderful tapestry that I'm a part of. And what I found, I don't know if you guys have Bibles like this, but I'm like a collector. I just said I collect Bibles. I collect Bibles, people, and animals, right? Because that's what we collect at home. But I'm a collector of Bibles because and animals, yes. And some of these, this Bible in particular has a lot of the historical stuff. You'll find maps of old Jerusalem, maps of, it's just kind of cool because it's stuff that not necessarily is offered up in the Bible, but helps you understand these words a little bit better. And as I was studying Abraham and Sarah, I ran across something that just stopped me in my tracks. When Abraham sacrificed his son Isaac, he took him up a hill and he offered him the sacrifice. And then many, many, many hundreds of years later, David comes into the picture. And what David does is he goes and purchases this piece of land. This piece of land, because he's going to build an altar on it, and this piece of land just so happens to be the exact site where Abraham made that first sacrifice, that first offering to God. That site is what David purchases. And here's the best part. Where's my Martha? You're going to love this, because you know what that piece of land was, Miss Martha? That was a threshing floor. You guys remember that conversation? The threshing floor. That is the place where you take the seeds and you beat it, you beat it, you beat it, you beat it until that good seed comes out and God can use you. That was a threshing floor that David purchased. And what he did is he built an altar. And then a while later, Solomon came into play, his son. And what Solomon did is he took that piece of land his father had purchased, he took down the altar and he built the first temple. And from there, what has happened since is the temple's been knocked down. Nebuchadnezzar. It was knocked down and built back up, and knocked down and built back up, and knocked down and built back up, and that just happened over time. And today, do you know how old this stuff is? This stuff is old. Today, that piece of land is still a very sacred place. Can I get that picture up on the screen? That there is called the Dome of the Rock. And it sits over in that very place that Abraham offered his son, that David purchased to build an altar, that Solomon built the first temple, the Dome of the Rock. Still a sacred piece of ground. Not so much in our faith as much as it is in others. Now, that whole threshing floor thing comes into play here because there's an inscription on this Dome of the Rock. There's an inscription, and I'm going to just read you the part. It's actually very long, but I'm going to read you the part of it that makes sense. Part of it says, "There is no God but God. He has no associate. O people of the book, do not exaggerate in your religion, nor utter aught concerning God, save the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was only a messenger of God. And his word, which he conveyed unto Mary, and a spirit from him. So believe in God and his messenger, and say not three. Say not three, cease. It is better for you. God is only one. Far be it removed from his transcendent majesty that he should have a son." That is the Nation of Islam offering us a warning, is it not? On that sacred piece of ground. Now, do you recall the story of Ishmael and Isaac? God told Abraham very long ago that those sons would war for eternity. And where that comes into play and becomes very interesting is that it's sitting on a threshing ground. As Christians, we are being threshed. Because Ishmael traces to Muhammad, which traces to the Quran. Isaac traces to Jacob, who traces to Judah, who traces to Jesus Christ. Amen. That war is still raging over there. That war is still the one that God promised Abraham so long ago. Hollywood cannot write this stuff. Hollywood can't write this stuff. You tell me that there is a coincidence that far, that great, that just so happened to be that way. And see, if you start accepting the fact that that can't possibly be a coincidence, then you have to start accepting the fact that there's all of these truths in here are true. That you are a child of the living God. That there is a plan for your life. That Jesus is coming back to take us with him. These are not coincidences. And I wait now. Because when I start reading this stuff, man, this just solidified my faith beside me like I couldn't believe. It's like a rock that will never, ever be broken. When I started reading this stuff, and I welcome somebody to tell me my God doesn't exist, because I'll tell you right now, you haven't researched it, you haven't looked at it, you have not, because the facts don't point to that. The facts point to that my God is a living God and he's here among us. That's what the facts point to. We need to open our eyes and ears. People say there's no evidence of God. My gosh, he left us just swimming in evidence of him. We're just blind. We're blind to it. We need to open our eyes, people. We believe things with far less evidence, and we accept them as truth with no problem, with no second thought. And this stuff is concrete as it gets. That's what David's been trying to tell you. That's what I've been trying to tell you. And I think we'll be talking about it all year. Is this stuff is as solid as it gets. Amen. We are not living in blind faith. We are educated people. We know where our faith comes from. We know that it stands firm and it has a foundation that you cannot shake. Amen. Yes. Would you stand with me for a moment?